Do you eat dogs? That was the first thing a classmate asked me on my first day at a new school in the West. Not hi, not what's your name. Just a question he'd clearly been sitting on since the night before. Today, we're talking about something almost every Asian person living in the West has experienced. Stereotypes, sometimes clueless, sometimes annoying, but always weirdly creative. This isn't a rant, it's a chance to laugh about it together. Because honestly, some of these are too ridiculous not to share. By the end, you'll probably recognize at least 3 of these from your own life. The classic, doesn't matter if you were born there, raised there, speak with 0 accent. The question, where are you from, will find you. And when you answer, I'm from here, the follow-up is always, no, but where are you really from? This is what's called the perpetual foreigner stereotype. The idea that Asians can never truly belong in Western countries, no matter how many generations their family has lived there. It's like a guessing game called Figure Out Where My Great-Great-Grandparents Lived that nobody asks you to play. Bored Panda. The fun part. If you actually answer Ohio, you get this disappointed silence, like you just ruined a story they'd already written in their head. And the kicker, this isn't just an awkward icebreaker, it's a question that gets asked over and over and over for an entire lifetime, no matter how many decades you've lived there. Stereotype number 2, all Asians look alike. A bold claim considering Asia has over 4 billion people, thousands of ethnic groups, and dozens of countries. But somehow, some people are very confident they just can't tell. Personally, I once got called by the name of the one other Asian kid in my class who, for the record, was from a different country, 6 inches taller, and had completely different hair. The only thing we had in common, we were both broadly Asian. If face recognition is that bad, maybe worry less about us and more about the next class reunion. Now, here's a stereotype that sounds like a compliment, which is exactly why it's the trickiest one to talk about. The idea that Asians are the model minority, naturally hardworking, brilliant at math, destined for success, no excuses, no struggles. Here's the part most people don't know. This idea wasn't some organic observation. It was coined in the 1960s when a sociologist praised Japanese Americans for overcoming discrimination in a way that was explicitly used to compare them favorably against Black Americans who were being labeled problem minorities at the time. In other words, this compliment was built on purpose to pit one group against another. Asia society, and it's not even accurate. The label generalizes all Asians in the West as intelligent, financially comfortable, and naturally excellent at math and science, but income and education levels actually vary enormously depending on country of origin. With some Asian communities facing real economic hardship that the model minority image completely erases. So when someone says, wow, you Asians are just naturally so disciplined, it might feel like a pat on the back, but it's actually flattening millions of completely different life stories into one convenient label. And for the kid who isn't a straight-A student, that label turns into pressure, shame, and a very confusing identity crisis at age 14. Which brings us to a close cousin of the model minority myth, the specific assumption that every Asian person is a math genius with tiger parents who only accept a perfect score. The problem is when you're not great at math, which is normal, because math skill isn't passed down with your hair color, you get this surprised look like you just broke some sacred oath nobody told you about. And yes, many Asian families do value education deeply. But that comes from a real complicated story tied to immigration history and survival, not some built-in superpower to turn into a casual joke at lunch. Stereotype 5 is the one that sounds the most like a compliment, which is exactly what makes it sneaky. The idea that Asians are naturally quiet, agreeable, and never cause trouble. Teachers love saying it, coworkers love saying it, it usually comes wrapped in a smile. But somewhere inside that compliment is also an expectation. Don't speak up too much, don't disagree too loudly, just nod and blend in. It's less about who you actually are and more about who's convenient for everyone else, if you stay that way. Funny enough, the people saying this are often the most surprised when an Asian colleague does push back in a meeting, like the agreeable button suddenly stopped working, and then there's the classic someone doing a fake Asian accent the moment they find out where your parents are from, usually followed by no offense, as if that's a magic word that cancels everything before it. What's funny is these impressions are almost never based on a real accent anyone's actually heard. They're based on other movies doing the same fake accent, which were based on other movies doing the same fake accent, a long chain of nobody actually checking the source. And of course, we can't skip food. For some people, Asian cuisine gets flattened into cheap, fast takeout, when in reality it's one of the richest, most refined, oldest culinary traditions on Earth. At the same time, there's the other classic joke about Asian food being weird or unsanitary, something anyone who's tried Western fermented cheese might want to reconsider before judging. Here's the thing. Most of these stereotypes didn't appear out of nowhere. A lot of them trace back decades, shaped by old movies, outdated textbooks, and a general habit in Western media of treating Asia as one giant, interchangeable place instead of dozens of distinct cultures, languages, and histories. Once an image gets repeated enough times on screen, it starts feeling like common knowledge, even when it was never true to begin with. And some of these stereotypes, like the model minority myth, weren't even accidental. They were deliberately built to serve a specific purpose, then passed down so many times that most people repeating them today have no idea where they came from. The irony is, the more specific you get, Vietnamese versus Korean versus Filipino versus Indian, just to name a few, the faster these stereotypes fall apart. They only survive by keeping things vague. So why do these stereotypes stick around? Mostly, it's not malice. It's something simpler: limited exposure, limited understanding, and the brain's lazy habit of lumping anything unfamiliar into one tidy box. The problem is, people aren't boxes. The good news is, more and more people, Asian and not, are starting to notice this, ask better questions, and laugh with each other instead of at each other. That's the whole point of this video, not to call anyone out, but to tell these stories with humor. So next time someone asks, "Where are you really from?" maybe they pause for half a second and think, "Wait, why did I just ask that?" If you've heard one of these before, or an even better one this video didn't cover, drop it in the comments. It might just become the next video. Thanks for watching Act Like an Asian. See you next week.